Good morning, everyone. What a gorgeous morning it is today. And I want you to look, we are just about out of granola. So since today is my meal prep day, I need to get some things done. Plus, I want to work in the garden for a little while today. So I'm going to get started and I'm going to make some fresh granola. And I'm going to be using some good old rolled oats. I'm going to add in some flaked coconut this time and some cranberries along with my pecans and my honey. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to add in is 2.5 cups of these oats. And I'm going to go ahead and use the Bob's Red Mill. I can get the cup down in here without spilling it everywhere. There's 1, 2, and let's get a half. I'm going to make it a heaping size half because those first ones weren't all that big. Okay, not so heaping either. Okay, a little bit more. I feel like I skimped myself. All right, so 2.5 cups of oats. And then I'm going to put in 1 cup of coconut flakes. All right, I love coconut flakes, and that was the last of my container, so I need to put that on my shopping list. These are starting to get a little bit dry, so it was the perfect time to use these up. Let's get them added in. Okay, now we're going to chop up a 1/2 cup of almonds and a 1/2 cup of pecans. Okay, so I put the half a cup of almonds and the 1/2 cup of pecans in a bag, and then I'm just going to give it a little whack with this and hope I don't break my bag. Okay, so this does a pretty good little job, and I don't want them like mushed. I still want some good sized pieces, but I definitely don't want to bite into a big hard piece of nut. So I think I've got those all chopped up, and I'm going to add them in my bowl. Okay, now we're going to add in 1/4 cup brown sugar. Now you can put this in or leave it out. You can use white sugar, whatever you like, but it also calls for cinnamon, and it only calls for a teaspoon of cinnamon. I'm going to definitely add in more than a teaspoon of cinnamon because the last time I made it, I could barely taste it. It was delicious, but I wanted a little bit more. I think I'm going to use just 1/8 cup of white sugar. And then, like I said, I'm going to go in with plenty of cinnamon. And I'm just measuring my cinnamon with my heart. It looks good. Now, I just added in 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Okay, now I'm going to give all this a good stir before I add in my wet ingredients. I want to make sure that I can get the honey and the butter and just a touch of olive oil all over each piece of this granola. Okay, so the first thing to go in is 1/4 stick of melted butter. And like I said, I want to stir this every time I add in something else because I want it to get good and coated. So we're just going to stir and stir. I'm going to go ahead and add in 1 tablespoon of my fancy olive oil also. And then I got to take my dose for today. Okay, so now I'm going to add in 1/2 cup of pure raw honey. And I'm going to go ahead and do it in the cup that I melted my butter in. So hopefully it will help that clean out a little bit better. And I'm just kind of eyeballing this because this is the 1 cup size here. And that looks about good right there. Okay, now I'm going to add in some of my homemade vanilla extract. Look at all those vanilla beans and the seeds. And once again, I'm going to measure this with my heart, and I'm going to go ahead and put it in the honey so it'll mix in better. Is that a lot? Yeah, good. Okay, I'm going to get it poured in. And in goes the honey and the vanilla. Okay, so I have put down a piece of paper on top of my baking sheet. I have my oven preheating to 300. I would do between 250 and 300, just sort of depending on the heat of your oven. And I want to get it spread out as thin as I can. And then I want to make sure, and I want to go in, I want to stir that in the oven every 5 or 10 minutes, honestly, because the last time we ate it, but I let it get a little too brown. I don't want it quite that brown this time. And the nuts will burn if you're not careful. So I'm going to let it cook on 300 for about 30 minutes. But like I said, I'm going to check it every 5 to 7 minutes, and I'm going to give it a good stir because I want it to get good and dry, but I don't want it to be burnt. Hey y'all, while the Granola is in the oven. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to boil up a dozen eggs. Now these are regular Kroger white eggs, and I'm going to use these for our boiled eggs this week. And yes, our chickens are still laying, but they had these for 99 cents a dozen, which is almost impossible to find these days. And they are a little bit easier to shell, the white ones are. So I'm going to go ahead and use these for our boiled eggs, and I'm also going to make some chicken salad this week. So I'm going to use part of these to eat for my breakfast and part of these in chicken salad for one of our weeknight suppers. So let's get these in the boiling water, and I'm going to let these boil for 10 minutes. Alrighty, now I'm going to take my eggs out of my water, and I'm just going to go ahead and put them right into a nice little ice bath. And I'm just going to sit there until they're completely cooled. And here's a little tip. If you save your water from where you boiled some eggs, let it completely cool, use it to water your plants the next time. It might have a little bit of nutrients in it there for them. Okay, the next thing we're going to make is our chicken salad for the week. Now this is some of the chicken that I had frozen from when I made my chicken broth. And I grabbed these bags of chicken leg quarters, usually at Food Line, for about 69 or 79 cents a pound for a 10-pound bag. And then I boil it all up, make some beautiful chicken broth, and then I saved all of the guy's chicken to make chicken salad. So I took out 2 bags. I'm going to let it thaw out, and I'm going to get this all put together. Okay, here is the finished product. I did not get it overcooked this time. It tastes really good. I ended up cooking this for about 45 minutes, honestly. But I took it out about every 7 or 8 minutes, and I stirred it. I kept my timer set on my Alexa so that I could keep up with it. And now I'm just going to add in some cranberries, and I'm going to do it while it's still just a little bit warm. And then it's going to be ready to completely cool and put back in my jars.